Welcome back to Neuroconversant Leadership, where we talk about effective communication in the STEM workplace, or anywhere that communication might be challenging. Do you ever receive an apology that makes you feel better? Have you ever received one where you feel like the person's just trying to get off the hook? Have you ever wondered what it takes to make a good and sincere apology? I've got an apology to make to all of you. Before I do, let's talk about how I can make it a good one. When I was younger, I tried never to apologize. I never thought that it was worth it. If you were hurt, but I didn't do anything that I felt was wrong, then I'm not going to apologize. I might say something like, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way." That's not an apology. That is really just a statement of, let's agree to disagree on what happened there. So in that case, there's no apology. It didn't seem necessary to me. Sometimes, even if I did do something wrong, I still didn't want to apologize. In my mind, my overly logical mind, it doesn't actually fix anything. I can't actually take the words back or the action back. Saying I'm sorry doesn't actually help. And on top of that, I just did something wrong to you, and now I'm going to add insult to injury by asking you for forgiveness. So I'm going to ask you for a favor because of something I did wrong. It just never felt right. It didn't seem like I should be let off of that hook that easily. And I always just wanted to show with my actions that I was going to improve. Saying it won't happen again felt worthless unless I show you. So I wanted to, over time, show you that this behavior would change. And I show you that I've taken responsibility. That will act as my apology. That's what I'd always thought. However, there are some good reasons for giving apologies. If I felt, or if someone feels that they did wrong, apologizing is really the first step to getting back on the same page with the other person. It shows that you have values, that you have shared values, and that you regret not having lived up to those values. It also acknowledges that they were hurt. And when you're apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry," sorry is a type of hurt. This way, it feels a little bit more fair. You hurt them, and you feel hurt in return. It's not a vengeful thing, but it's kind of a balanced thing. And when you do apologize, it gives hope that you'll do better in the future. I always just wanted to behave differently and let that show that I was sorry, but that takes a long time, and people aren't necessarily going to recognize that you're making an effort unless you tell them, "I'm going to make the effort because I'm sorry." And it's not just for your family members. It's not just personal. Anytime you have someone who's important to you and you spend a lot of time together, mistakes are absolutely going to happen. And yes, friends and family, absolutely. Apologize when you make a mistake, but mistakes happen at work too. And you don't have to be a hard nose, because the relationships that you have at work are very important. They deserve the effort and the attention so that they can remain healthy relationships as well. So whether it's your spouse, your children, and your friends, or it's your boss, your coworkers, or your employees, if you've made a mistake that hurts them, apologize. But how do you do it? How do you apologize well? I've got 6, maybe 7 steps that I think make for a very good apology. Number 1, give a specific definition of what you did so that they know you understand what it was and you have a shared understanding. Number 2, acknowledge that you did them harm. That legitimizes the hurt that they're feeling. Number 3 is take responsibility. Even if you didn't mean it, it was still you who did it. If you meant well but were insensitive to how a action or words were going to be received, it's still a mistake that you made, so take responsibility. Number 4, recognize that there is wrongdoing. Recognize that a mistake or a misstep was made. Number 5, give a statement of regret. "I'm sorry" goes a long way. It shows that you're feeling bad. Remember when I talked about fairness? Saying "I am sorry" shows that you feel bad as well, and it levels the playing field a bit. Number 6 is promise not to repeat it. but you can't just say, it'll never happen again. I wouldn't buy that. You have to say, it won't happen again, and why? What's your plan? What are you going to do to ensure that it never happens again? In addition to giving them confidence that it won't happen, it shows them how much you actually care about what you did. Saying I'm sorry can be empty, but saying I'm sorry, it won't happen again, and here is the plan that I came up with shows that you put some thought and effort into it. And number 6.5, I'm not calling it number 7 because it shouldn't always be used, is an explanation of why it happened. Sometimes you can use an explanation of why it happened to reinforce why it won't happen again. Maybe it's a special situation that you learned from. So why it happened can't be an excuse. If it's going to sound like an excuse, just drop it altogether. But if it's going to help show why it won't happen again, then it's very worthwhile. Timing is important, and timing can be challenging. If it's too soon in the heat of the moment, it might not be accepted. You might not really feel it when you say it, and they may not be ready to hear it. So too soon can be a problem. When you're in the process of cooling off and things are getting towards better, that's a good time. That will often help speed things along a little bit. If you wait too long and the topic's cold, it might just be too late. So I probably should have included this apology in the last podcast, which was late. One reason for waiting until now is to show that I've gotten back on schedule, which probably may be a mistake going back to my I want to show you rather than say it, but that's what it is. This is not a science, it's an art. So here is my apology to you. I made a commitment to you to release my podcast on Thursday mornings every single week, and I failed to do that last week. A number of you woke up and you expected a new episode to be there and were disappointed, and for that, I am very sorry. I was in a cabin in the woods for the entire week of Thanksgiving, and it honestly fell through the cracks. I know, it's no excuse. And the next time I'm going to be away from the office for a number of days or a week, I'm going to preload the episode and schedule it, and that way it will automatically go out. And this way you can be sure that I won't make this mistake again. When you listen to that apology, I hope it rings true, because it is. And I used all 7. I went with the 7th one. Elements that I had listed earlier, not always in the exact right order. There's no right order. You just want to have all of those in there. Thank you very much for listening to my apology and to another episode of Neuroconversant Leadership. Did this episode make you think of someone who's recently made a very good and sincere apology to you? If so, may I suggest that you send them a thank you note or speak to them in person and just recognize what a good job they did. And when you do that, if you can give me some help by giving a little plug about this podcast episode, say, hey, you did a great job apologizing. Not sure if you even understand why, but here's an episode that explains how good apologies happen. I'd appreciate it. The more people who get to listen to this podcast, the more people I can help. I look forward to talking with you again next Thursday morning, 6 o'clock sharp.